And as you can see, we are getting 104 frames per second up to about 107. Now we are actually running this on Ultra Nightmare. So at the moment, if you're looking to build a PC, it could be a little bit crazy, a little bit confusing, because no one seems to know what prices anything are. So we decided to do all the hard work for you and basically build a system for around $1,400, as long as retailers can stick to those kind of prices. So let's get this ready and rocking and see exactly how it performs as well in our step-by-step PC build video. With its luxurious curves, the AOC Aegon AG353 UCG is not just a pretty picture. Featuring a wide quad HDR 1000 display at 200Hz and G-Sync Ultimate, you too can game your way to victory. Check the link in the description to find out more. So let's talk through the parts and kind of the reasoning behind the build, because we wanted to build something that I guess the average gamer could build, and it seems like prices have gone a little bit crazy, especially when it comes to what retailers are actually selling components for, if they're selling them at all. And the main ones that we're going to be looking at really come down to the CPU and the GPU. First thing you are going to need is some kind of a toolkit, screwdriver set, and obviously I'm going to recommend the eTeknix one, which is available on store.eteknix.com, and it has got absolutely everything you're going to need to build, maintain and repair a PC. So we've gone with the MSI B550 Tomahawk. It's going to give us all of the features that we kind of crave, all of the performance, all of the functionality that we need whilst on a budget, without going kind of too far and looking at X570. So let's talk about the CPU, and that's where the Ryzen 5 5600X comes in. It's a great little processor, which is, if you can again get it for the right price, amazing value for money, giving you decent amount of cores, decent speed, and it's going to be perfect for kind of a mid-range board, a mid-range system that's going to pair really nicely with our 3060 Ti. Now, for anyone who's never built a PC before, this is where I guess things get a little bit interesting. You've got your CPU, and on the CPU is a tiny, tiny little arrow. All you want to do is make sure that this pairs up with the arrow that's on the CPU socket. So you can lift up the arm, take your CPU, and plonk it into place. I always just like to put a little finger on there just to hold it. Don't put any pressure, and just put that back down. Now, when it comes to cooling the CPU, you're going to need a CPU cooler, and there's various different ones you can get. You can go with a stock cooler like we are today. If you want a little bit kind of more performance, maybe even quieter operation, you can go with a slightly beefier air cooler. Or further down the line, you could go with an AIO, all-in-one liquid cooler, or even if you fancy going really crazy, custom loop. So for our storage, we've decided to go with two different options. We've got a 2TB hard drive for storing Call of Duty and other big games, but we've also got something a little bit faster with the Seagate Barracuda 510. We've actually gone with a 500 gig capacity. If your budget allows, you could always go for a 1TB, or you could even go for a Gen 4 drive if you want that kind of blistering fast speed, but it is going to cost a lot more money. So for this particular drive, we are going to put it into the top slot. Now, this board actually has an M.2 slot here and also a second one down there. So there's nothing stopping you, if you wanted to, getting a second drive at a later date, or upgrading to maybe even something a little bit faster. Now, when you take this off, you will see that we do have a little standoff here. So we just want to unscrew that, like so. We can then take our drive, which does have a very, very small off-center little notch on there, just making sure that lines up. It can only go in one way, generally with the label facing upwards. Put it in, and then you can push it down. And again, with that screw that we took out, you can just start to screw that back down. So for the memory, we've gone with the G.Skill Trident Z Neo. This is a 16 gig kit. It's also 3600 megahertz. So we're getting that nice sweet spot of value and the speed. So yeah, this is gonna look really, really nice inside the system. Now, generally speaking, and this applies to 99.9% of motherboards out there, you wanna go for the second slot and the fourth slot away from the CPU. You also find that on the memory module, again, like the M.2 drive, it has got a slightly off-center sort of little notch on there. So we just want to make sure that that lines up with the notch on the DIMM slot, like so, and then just put a little bit of light pressure and it will clamp down into place. Now we need to turn our focus onto the case. Now, this is the Antec DF700 FLUX. It's one of their newest cases, and it stands for Flow Luxury. Yes, I'm not a massive fan of the name either. I have made that clear to them, but there is kind of reasoning behind it. They stand by that it offers you luxury in terms of you get 3 RGB fans at the front, you get the tempered glass, and it does also have flow or airflow, especially in this case because the whole front panel is literally one big mesh filter. You also get a mesh filter on the top and down the bottom as well on the PSU shroud. And there is actually a fan included on here so that you can have just that little bit of extra airflow. Now, whenever I build a PC, the first sort of thing I like to do with a case is actually strip it down as much as we can. So taking off both panels if we can, even taking off the front panel if we need to, you know, if you're fitting an AIO or something a little bit more exotic. And it's quite nice to see because on this side we did have a box full of accessories, which is all our screws that we're going to need. But also here is a fan controller, which also takes care of the RGB side of things. So this will plug straight into your motherboard as long as you have the right connectors for it. It's powered also by SATA. And then on the top of this case, there are some LED, there's an LED button. So you can just cycle through the colors if you don't want to control it through your motherboard software. So the motherboard's all screwed in using the 9 screw points or mounting holes. Now, what we actually need to do now, which I find is probably the easiest thing, is to do all of the front panel connectors. So generally on a case, you'd have a HD audio one, which is the one I've got in my hand here. And that normally, again, 9 times out of 10 is going to be down in this corner. You can't really get it wrong because it's actually missing one of the pins on there. So if it doesn't go on, then it doesn't go on. So we can look to get that into place. It just makes it a little bit easier doing it now compared to after a graphics card's in there and you haven't got much room, you haven't got much light, that kind of stuff. Now we can take our hard drive cage out, and depending on the case that you're using and the functionality of it, you may have to use some screws. But on this particular one, it's actually a matter of lining up with the mounting mechanism on here, sort of bending this out of shape so that it clips in. And then we can just simply slide it back in. So power supply wise, it's been quite a hot topic, especially with the 30 series GPUs. And well, basically what you need is something that's going to have enough power, something that's going to be, I guess, continuous amounts of power, a decent brand, decent efficiency. I feel like now has become even more important to really sort of, you know, think about your power supply. Don't skimp out on it. And that's why we've got the Antec High Current Gamer, or HCG 750 watt gold. I mean, between you and me, this is basically a Seasonic Focus G, so you know it's going to be decent. So here's the power supply itself, the HCG 750. It's actually quite small considering how powerful it is. And we've got all of our modular cables. Now there's a couple that, you know, we definitely need, but we've just kind of scouted around the system just to make sure that we've got all of the right cables out that we are going to need. So depending on your case, you may find that the power supply comes in from the back or from the side. On this particular one, it actually comes in from the side. Just be careful of that HD audio cable, just making sure that you're not kind of moving it out of place. Once it's in, you can then look to screw it down into place. So one thing I do want to do, just because it comes with the case, is install the reverse fan. So they actually say to have it up this way, so it's kind of drawing heat away. Doesn't quite make sense to me, but I guess, you know, if that's what Antec say, let's go with it. So last thing really that we have to work with is the GPU, the all important thing to get you them glorious frame rates. And we've gone with the MSI RTX 3060 Ti Gaming X Trio. So now this is the tricky part. We've got to decide where we want to take the cables. And really a lot of it is going to come down to kind of what you prefer the look of. For me, I'm going to try coming in from the bottom and maybe sort of give that a try. Obviously, if we did have some custom cables, we could make this look a lot better, but that is going to add sort of significant cost. For decent cables, you're looking at about £60, $100 almost. So I had a little play with the cables off film, and yeah, I decided I'm going to kind of keep them like that, and I'm going to use a handy dandy eTeknix Velcro cable tie, available on store.eteknix.com, just to kind of tidy them up a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're not trying to go for, you know, the most glorious aesthetic build or anything like that, but just something that's kind of functional. And again, like our other cables, we can pull them through from the other side. And if you want, you could then cable manage on the other side as well. And we are done. So there's just a few things we need to do. I will show you the other side. I did a little bit of cable management, nothing kind of too serious because, like I mentioned, I don't care. We are going to put the back panel on, which is, if you haven't done huge amounts of cable management, it's probably easier laying it down like this, just so you can not squash the cables, but it's just easier to kind of slide on like that, screw it down into place, And unless you're seeing any kind of major bulges or anything like that, you haven't really got anything too much to worry about. So we can get that one in as well. Screw it down into place. We have got some ventilation here as well, another kind of, I guess, highlight of this this case. I actually do quite like the Flow luxury cases from Antec. It seems like you just get a lot of kind of bang for your buck. Another thing we do need to do before we do anything else, and this is obviously vital, is we need to get this on camera. Please make a nice noise. Ta-da. So we will put that on in a little bit, but because of obviously the sake of filming and stuff like that, I want to show you guys exactly how this is going to look once it's all lit up. Now, bearing in mind, haven't installed anything on here, no windows, no games just yet, but it's going to give us an idea as to kind of what the colors and everything are about. So fingers crossed, it boots up first time and gives us some very, very nice lighting effects. There we go. So the memory's lit up, the GPU is lit up, the fans on the front are lit up, which in theory, there we go. If we press the LED button on the case, it will just go through a few different presets, but we can always control it through the motherboard software. Now you're probably hearing the fans are a little bit loud, so we do just need to go into the BIOS, tweak the fan curve a little bit, and away we go. So first game up is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Not really my cup of tea when it comes to sort of general gameplay, but you gotta admit the graphics and everything do look really, really nice. So we are actually at 1440p at the moment and we're running everything on high. Yes, we could go a little bit higher, but we would kind of probably suffer on the frame rate, which as you can see, we are getting pretty decent, around 70 frames per second. A few little dips here and there to sort of 68, but overall pretty decent. I am kind of getting my ass handed to me right now, but you know, even in the thick of a fight, we are still getting sort of 65 to 70 frames per second, more than playable, and just a really sort of good experience. So now into Watchdog Legions, and we are again running at 1440p. We've got pretty much everything on high. We've actually even got ray tracing set to high as well. So you can see just in this puddle here, these amazing lighting and shadows and stuff that you get. Nice little reflections of the telephone box over there. Do we even still have telephone boxes in the UK? We are getting 65 frames per second. DLSS is set to balanced, and generally things are looking pretty decent. Let's get in a car and drive around, and you'll see even at night with the ever-changing sort of lighting effects, we are still getting pretty decent frame rates of over 60 frames per second. Now, anyone who's played Watch Dogs will know that the driving in this game is absolutely trash, so please don't base my driving skills off anything, because it's not me, it's the game. Honestly, either way, we are getting a decent frame rate, and I guess we could go to 4K. We may have to dial down the settings a little bit more if you wanted to get over that glorious 60 FPS number, but if you don't mind having, I guess, a little bit under 60, closer to 50 frames per second, you're gonna get that pretty achievably on high settings at 4K. So moving on to Control, another title with ray tracing, because why would you buy an RTX 3060 Ti if you didn't want to take sort of, you know, make use of the latest ray tracing technology from NVIDIA. As you can see, just in the window reflection, looking pretty cool. So we are at 1440p. We have got DLSS on, so it is rendering a little bit lower, just because this is one of the most demanding titles out there. We are getting around 60 frames per second. It looks okay. I do feel like maybe if we dialed down the settings, we could get a slightly higher frame rate and things would look, you know, even better. We wouldn't have as much kind of motion blur and stuff going on, but still well over 60 frames per second here, just as we roam around, going into the dark areas, coming back into the light and just watching it change. Gotta admit, this is a beautiful looking game. Now, we couldn't obviously do this video without having some Cyberpunk in there as well. So graphics wise, you can see that everything is, you know, reasonable, medium to high. You've got to remember this is a next generation game, but we have got ray tracing turned on the ray tracing, the reflections, the shadows, and the lighting is set to medium. DLSS is set to balanced. We could go with performance or ultra performance, but I do find that, especially at larger sort of resolutions, you are going to see maybe a little bit of graininess. Now, resolution wise, we are at 1440. So running around, I mean, the game still looks absolutely fantastic, even at this resolution and them graphics settings, and we are hovering around that magical 60 FPS number. Now, for me, I actually play this at home on an RTX 3090, and I set it to 30 frames per second. It still runs buttery smooth. Now, I'm not happy with what this guy's doing, so let's take him out. Even during the thick of it, sort of 55 to 60 frames per second. So pretty decent overall, and it looks absolutely amazing. With the ray tracing settings, if we jump down here, admittedly, I've just hurt myself. Probably not the best move for me to take, and I have got the police after me as well after what I've just done. But as I head over to here, just to kind of see what the reflections are like, what that ray tracing is doing, you can see it looks absolutely amazing and still getting just over 60 frames per second. Pretty damn decent, but now I need to run away from the hot fuzz. And lastly, we're looking at Doom Eternal. This time we're actually at 4K, which I've got to admit looks absolutely amazing. Get rid of this guy, probably one of the worst things you can come up against in this game. And yeah, I'm not doing well already. Let's get some gas and some other bits and bobs. Let's kill him so we can get a little bit of health. We don't want to be running out of that. And as you can see, we are getting 104 frames per second up to about 107. Now, we are actually running this on Ultra Nightmare. Yes, they've actually fixed this game so that you can get some decent playable frame rates without it chewing up all of your VRAM. And obviously on this title, it's still pretty demanding, but things are looking pretty good. Still got this guy after me though. And he's done. So yeah, hovering around the 100 FPS mark. When we go into the settings, you can see exactly what's going on at 4K. And as I mentioned, Ultra Nightmare. So pretty damn good for a 3060 Ti. So there we have it, there's the gameplay. And as you can see, this is kind of geared more towards your, I guess, average 1440p gamer who wants everything cranked up to the max. So talking high, very high settings with ray tracing and DLSS on as well. The build overall, I'm pretty happy with. I think, you know, there is a little bit of room for improvement, but a lot of that comes down to your budget. So what would you really like to sort of put more money into? But there is also the room for future proofing. So at a later date, you might want to maybe, you know, improve on the CPU cooler, or you might want to add more storage, more memory, or even just, and my personal point would be, some slightly quieter fans, especially the one down here and the one at the back of the case. They're just a little bit too noisy for my liking. Obviously, I haven't got the side panel on here. Once it's on and you've got headphones on, you're playing a game, you're probably not going to notice it, but yeah, just a little picky point for me. As I mentioned, this is about sort of $1,400, but that's based on MSRP pricing, and if you can actually get the parts, including the 3060 Ti Gaming X Trio from MSI and the Ryzen 5 5600X from AMD. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the build. Is this the sort of thing that you'd go for if you had that kind of budget available? Are they the sort of games that you'd be playing, and what resolution would you be playing at? We do actually have a lot of other builds on the channel, so definitely go and check them ones out as well. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know exactly what to do, and I will see you in the next one. See you later. Bye-bye.